Hey there, my name is Joaquin Malata, and this is the AI Digest podcast. And today we're going to be talking about cultural awareness in AI, how to represent underrepresented communities. Um, this is a nebulous, charged topic. To help guide us through this conversation, we're going to be speaking with Devana. Devana May, would you care to just give us a little bit of a background on who you are, what you do, and where are you located right now?
Hi, yes, thank you so much, Joaquin, for this amazing opportunity to chat with you. I've been traveling a lot lately, so I have been kind of out of touch. So it's really good to have a conversation, kind of maybe catch up on some of the things I've learned in the cultural and the AI space. So my name is Devana May. I am the creator of It Girl GPT, where we build brands of global influence. I am a lawyer turned global entrepreneur, and I am currently completing a sabbatical, a self imposed sabbatical throughout Southeast Asia. I've been traveling, slow traveling and backpacking for about 5 or 6 months now. Started in Thailand, moved through South Korea. Now I'm in Malaysia, and next I'm going to Vietnam. My purpose in the AI space specifically, after 15 years of brand building, marketing, strategy, how do you say, creating community between vendors, partners, clients. My purpose, I feel, is to help entrepreneurs, dreamers, creatives elevate and express their brilliance. And the way that I do that is showing them, teaching them how to use AI, how to use the digital spaces, how to use social media. And I also, as a byproduct, create community and connection in doing all of that. So I'm really, really big on creating human connections in digital spaces.
Excellent. Well, I think we have a lot to talk about, and I was getting very excited as we were talking before we hit the record button. So maybe we can, bring that to the podcast recording. Maybe we could talk about what is it that we're talking about here? Culture. What does that mean?
Yeah,
Such a big word.
it is. And I think honestly, the more that I've traveled, I've gotten an even more expansive understanding of that. I could say expansive and nuanced. So, how do I just put it? Culture is it's like the lived experiences of people. It's a rhythm, it's a resonance, it's an unspoken set of rules that are defined over time, over history. It's how a community expresses its identity. It's something to be proud about. It's something to be shared. And it's also like a set of nuances that helps them to feel comfortable and familiar. It's a sense of belonging and safety. And again, as a traveler, as a foreigner, as a tourist here who lives among the locals, I'm so grateful to the people who've allowed me to consume their culture, but it should be done so with respectful curiosity because culture is the soul of the people. It's the heart of the people. It's their values, their tradition, their food, their music, their language, so on and so on. It's culture is sort of the heartbeat of the earth. It's a vibration, it's an expression, and it should be celebrated. And I've learned so much about culture and the differences, and I like to get into all of that later. But that's my take on culture.
Yeah. What a heavy influence it has on identity. Um, I think we were talking about this before as well, that culture forms kind of like a tribal mentality. I identify with this. I believe in these things. I am red. I am blue. I am green. I am yellow. And anything opposing that is something that may be different for me. Something to explore. Something scary or something that may be. I don't know. I'm rambling. Let's
I totally
transition over. Pardon?
no, I get what you're saying. Go ahead though. I want to hear what you're gonna say.
No, maybe let's transition into community. I mean, culture and community are two sides of the same coin, and they kind of feed off each other. I think that's where we
Mhm.
can start to draw out some more of those characteristics.
Yeah. Yeah, something you were saying kind of invoked something inside of me. Culture, community. Okay, so values, religion, traditions, background, language, these are all things that are elements of culture and community. And sometimes a person like myself does not fit neatly into a particular box. I'm sort of a lot of things. I can appreciate more than one religion. I can gain knowledge from more than one person's background. Perspectives are I can just get so much from people, and where I'm from, people more or less stick within their own group. They stick within their own racial group. They stick within their own social group, within their own education level. And I feel like it's like that even across the country, across the world. I've found that community is a space that can be gate kept. Community is sort of a subsection of culture. Community is sort of where culture starts to break into smaller pieces. And it's sort of a place, like I kind of mentioned it before, where you feel safe, where you feel like this is only for you and your people. And that could be based on your skin color, that could be based on your social status, on a hierarchy, on your education. But there are these subgroups that are created even within the same region, country, continent. And as a foreigner, as an outsider, you're looking at like, well, you all look the same, but there are very complicated and nuanced differences between people who look the same. And that's something to be that's something to be spoken about. Community can definitely be gate kept. It can be exclusionary. And I have personally experienced coming to foreign lands and feeling very much so like the people are friendly, but when you want to become friends, there's sort of a no access zone until you perhaps have a conversation. You have enough courage to break the ice and be curious enough to sit with someone and say, and just start small talk and just have a conversation. And then maybe, and I've been invited to dinners, I've been invited within the family home because I was, I guess I just was brave enough to say, hey, I want to push past that gate a little bit and I really want to get to know you. So again, communities are sort of gatekeepish and they can be exclusionary, but I think it's done to protect themselves and to keep a sense of identity that people can share in.
Yeah, it feels tribal. I always feel like whatever we want to say, that we drive a car and we have water boiler and hot water, and we have supermarkets and all these things, we still behave very much like cave people. I don't think that we're any different from where we were 2000 years ago. If you have a different skin color, a different political belief system, if you have a different religious background, people will form these boundaries that kind of creates this invisible wall. um,
Mhm.
I emigrated from El Salvador to the United States, and I only spoke Spanish. So for some time, as much as I wanted to participate and be part of the culture of the United States, there was a Devana, I see that I'll shut off my camera as well. It seems like the camera went away.
That's so strange. Yeah, my film just went away, but I can still hear you. I'm here with you.
Okay, so yeah, when I was here in the United States, trying to assimilate into the culture, trying to learn the language, learn the customs, learn the beliefs, there was this negotiation between what I carried over from my country and my immediate recent upbringing at 7 years old, and what it is to be in a different land with different people and different cultures. I mean, the area that I kind of came into was filled with people of many different countries and identities as well. A
Hmm.
very heavy immigrant population.
Hmm.
So you would have Ecuadorians, Peruvians, Mexicans, Americans, Polish, Italian. There were just such a wide variety of of people.
Yeah. And I also want to speak to that because when I started traveling abroad, I was so shocked to hear people say, this, you can't sit in this restaurant because it is designated for this nationality only. People, I was actually told, and I don't
Wow.
just call out the name, but I was out one day and it was in a very local, non-touristy space out here in Malaysia, and it was probably 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm going out, it was like street food vendors, no one really spoke English. And I was just looking for food, and I walked up to this one particular restaurant, and I wanted to sit down and take some time with the menu because it was in a foreign language. So I wanted to sit down, look at the pictures, maybe do some translating, right?
Hmm.
And I asked the man who was standing at the head of the restaurant. I said, "Can I sit down?" He said, "No, this is for such and such only, their nationality." And I asked him 3 times because I was actually shocked.
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
disbelief. What the hell?
yeah, I was, because now again, you come from America. If you're in America, that's not something that we do. I mean, they do it, but that is highly frowned upon. That is cancel culture, okay?
Right.
But here, it was, again, I don't travel into other people's countries with this sense of entitlement. I have to and expand myself to understand what is actually happening here. So I asked him 3 times. I was like, "Did you say that this is for so and so only?" And he said, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay." So in my mind, I'm like, "Am I supposed to order and just take the food and go?" I was like, "No, that's okay." So I exercised my choice, and I was like, "Well, I'll go somewhere else where I could actually sit, where I'm invited."
Hmm.
And that was my choice, and that was their choice. But that was extremely shocking. And I used AI, and I used the technology, and I used It Girl GPT to kind of have a conversation. And that was the first time I ever had a conversation, albeit with technology, to ask, "Did that just happen? And is that a thing?" And it said, "Yes, people do exclude based on, your identity, or based on your nationality. They want to protect their space." And even in the malls, or when they're hiring people out here, they will explicitly say, "Malaysians only. We're only hiring Malaysians." So
Wow.
it is a thing, and I've gotten used to it, but it's a mindset. Even in America, people are, if you go on TikTok, there's people canceling small cafes or restaurants all the time because a black or brown person will walk in and they won't get service, but then a white or Caucasian person will walk in and they'll be treated a certain way. So it happens everywhere. It's just, here it has been very direct. In America, it's sort of covert.
Yeah. This is part of that perception of you're different, right? I mean, if you go to the US, if you go to Philadelphia and you root for another team, another sports team, you're gonna get beat up
Yes.
profusely.
Yeah.
So, it's like yeah, so how does a community in a society, how do they interact? How do they produce and consume culture? We talked about the blurring of lines now that the internet and media, social media in particular, has allowed us to interact with each other across geographical boundaries. I mean, I'm in New Jersey and you're in Malaysia, and we're having a conversation in real time. So,
Oh, awesome. I'm actually from New Jersey. Okay, love that. Yes, media is the way that culture is being produced and consumed primarily. Since I've been here, I've met some locals, and they have never interacted in person with an American. I was literally the first American person that they have had an actual conversation with, and all of their experience, understanding, and ideas are formed based off of what the media feeds them. So you can imagine there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of prejudice. I don't know what is being broadcast on international TV because I rarely watch TV, even
mm,
when I'm in the States. So I found that I am the first representative of not only America, but an American woman, and then an American Black woman. Um, then a woman who has a expansive, not necessarily defined set of rules, I'd say, so I'm not necessarily easy to put into a box. I've got some nuances within myself. So I have, it's kind of funny because I mentioned this to you earlier. I thought that I was making friends, because I use TikTok to, network, and people from TikTok are like, hey, I'm here in Malaysia, let's do lunch. And I'm like, cool, man, we're gonna like hang out. So really
Hmm.
what was happening, I'm thinking I'm making a friend, but to them, I'm like one of the natural wonders of the world. I am an
Oh,
experience to them. I am something to take a selfie with. I am a curiosity fulfilled. I am an American woman. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go back and tell all my friends about all the stories, all the ways that you spoke, the way that you enunciate, what your hair looks like, everything. It's like, so I definitely became the representative of an entire culture, country, community. And I think that's why it's important to just, if we transition that over into the AI, it's important to have accurate representation of us in digital spaces, because people are literally learning about you through a computer, and through that, respect can be gained or lost, and bias is formed when there is no accuracy there. So yeah, we're definitely exchanging culture, producing it through the media. But if you get the chance, it's imperative to travel and to help redefine. And if you're not traveling, use social media to communicate, because even on TikTok, you can go live. I went live with someone from Pakistan. And when I tell you their music was so good, I consumed that piece of their culture and I'll never forget it. I'll always appreciate the fact that that few minutes I spent on live with that man, he was playing this music in the background, and I was like, wow, I like your music. And now that's a part of me. That's a part of my, my new culture. You know what I mean?
yeah, I wholly subscribe to that. I find myself to be a collector, of trying to explore the world through the ideas and the diversity and the richness of history of different people. Sorry, okay, we're good. But sometimes uh, media misshapes or misrepresents or distorts the idea, the identity of something. And people consume it, and that's what their perception is of the world. They think one thing they saw represents everything everywhere all at once forever, right? um, so we gotta step with media and media literacy and understanding that something that is shown to us can be used for a constructive or a destructive purpose, especially when media can be used as a propaganda, as a weaponization of perception, right?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
So wonderful transition into LLMs and the usage of generative AI. Can you tell me a little bit about what was the moment that led you to discover and use and say, hey, this is a neat technology. How do I use it? How do I use it to provide value in the world? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, wow. This question it takes me back 15 years. When I started my first business out of law school, I started an accessories business, of a fashion business. So it was women's jewelry, and the tagline was where luxury meets affordability. So I primarily catered to Black and Brown women from underrepresented communities, because most of the women I knew had never gotten an opportunity to experience luxury. So I wanted to bring them a sense of that on an affordable level. So building a brand, you have to have models and photo shoots and images and content, to put on your website, to put on your socials. And so, of course, you can Google. This is, before GPTs and all the things. So it was Google and maybe even Ask Jeeves at the time, if you can remember that. But so I'm on the internet looking for images of successful Black women, professional African American business women, and there were literally no pictures. It was all Caucasian women. Anytime I did it, even when I said Black women, luxury, black women, professional, it would give white women, or it would give uh, a white woman wearing black clothing or in a black background. It was so crazy. But there was literally no pictures of black women represented in these spaces. There weren't even animated, cartoonified pictures available.
No way. Come on.
I'm
No
telling
way.
you. Listen, I'm telling you. And if there
What?
were, it was okay. Maybe I exaggerate a tad bit. There are probably like 5 pictures available, okay?
No,
And
but that's really that really sucks. You scour the whole internet and you get 5 pictures?
yes, and again, I'm not going to call out any platforms. I did say Google and Ask Jeeves, but there are certain platforms that people went to for pictures, for stock photos. I mean, not a single one. Okay, a single 5, okay? But I'm saying the point is that our images have, and our stories and our visuals have just been systematically excluded, because there are successful black women in luxury attire and representative and professional spaces for well over 15 decades, centuries. Like, we are not new to this. You know what I mean? There should be visual representation of us in those spaces, but they are being excluded intentionally and systematically from the media. So I always say that you have to pick your place in the revolution. You have to figure out a way to improve this earth, improve the condition of our people, your community, your culture, and you have to find out which weapon you choose to fight with. And I think I mentioned to you earlier, some people are frontline protesters. Some people are musicians, and they express our experiences through song. Some people are artists through paint. Some people are builders. Some people are educators. I happen to be a creative, and I take all of my frustration and I go and I don't fight the system directly. I just go create a new avenue. I create a new system, a system and a space for us that ensures inclusion, and that not only creates a community, but a place where people can feel empowered enough to figure out what their gift and weapon is, so they can stand in the revolution of. And I don't mean this in the sense of, I'm not pitting people against people. I'm putting principles against principles. I'm putting
Yeah, you're showing the
success.
effect. You're describing the effect that just occurs naturally in.
Yes, yes. And so we have to build our own stages. We have to build our own digital spaces. We have to build our own communities. And we've constantly had to do that throughout history. If you examine history of African Americans in America, we have been just destroyed, burned down, and taken, just taken. And we have to continue to recreate, rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just rebuilding a new space, and I do it in many spaces. So it's not just one space. It Girl GPT became a space that I've been so grateful for, because, having a GPT that represents not only my personality, it gives me a place to be authentic. It gives me a place to share everything I've learned, my education, my travel experiences, my professional life. I put that all into the knowledge base, and I can share that because I've always wanted to be able to be a mentor to people at a mass level. And because I wanted to mentor myself, I wish that I had somebody who could teach me how to market, brand, how to get through the hardships, how to make money when you have no money. So everything you can think of when it comes to building a brand, and then building a brand on a global level, which I've done successfully with several brands. And I'm so proud to say that I've put that into It Girl GPT, into the knowledge base, and people are using it, consuming it, and they're feeling a sense of familiarity. Some people feel connected to it because it sounds like them. It talks to them in a certain way. And it inspires them, again, to unpack their own gifts. And that's what I really, at the bottom line is, I'm here to inspire you to be to find the greatness within you and to share it with the world. And that's what I'm using AI for.
I Yeah, I can respect that. I love books. I love media when it's useful, positive, constructive, when it celebrates the expression of people. Um, the folklore that's been captured, where you see people dancing with beautiful
Mhm.
adornments and colorful
Yeah.
costumes and singing their music, singing within their natural language, their own languages carried over from decades or
Mhm.
hundreds of years. It's so
Yes.
rich. It's amazing. I found myself thinking media is the encapsulation of perception. There's a message. There's an you encode perception. You encode a lived reality in media, and you could use that as a weapon to create a pain in someone and say, "Hey, you got to buy something to fix this pain," or you could use it to create hope and create a role model and
Mhm.
inspire people to rise up and share with each other. And I think
Mhm.
we're talking about the same thing here, where you find yourself at a loss of words, where you can empower yourself to articulate your pain, or maybe articulate a way to resolve your reality to a better tomorrow, to a better future.
Mhm.
um, and you can clone that with media, and as you're describing here, you're cloning yourself based on your lived experiences in a way that you can act as a role model, that you
Mm.
can project like a living vision board of, hey, this could be you too if you pursue this, or if you need advice or counsel. So, I celebrate that very much. It's We need more of that. We need to be able to cast ourselves into the kind of shape and image that is aspirational, that will propel us, that will um yeah, it'll eject us into another quantum leap, into another world, into another dimension. You know?
Mhm. I love that so much. And you know what? I appreciate that and I thank you for saying that because it's very affirming and it gives more depth and it gives me wings. It gives me more reason to continue to pursue this because sometimes you might get a little lost in the work where you're not sure if it means anything, where you might feel like it loses its effectiveness or its luster, and I do appreciate that. And I also want to mention, you made me think about something about, because I'm noticing now how younger people are using social media to insert their selves and in a way that's almost funny. They're talking about their prejudices, they're talking about how their communities are gatekeeping certain ideals and how their community is exclusionary and how there is a level of pettiness and banter within their community about other communities, even people who are from their same nation, not even race wars. This is about co fellow countrymen,
Yeah.
So I like how young people are using social media, and these are quote unquote underrepresented people, but they are the voice, they are the originators of culture and norm and how culture is produced. They are the leaders of it because again they're always looking for ways to express themselves, their frustrations, their perspectives. They want to talk about how their parents raised them and the things that they learned that they have to unlearn, and they are hearing people from America talk about the things that they're doing in Asia, and Asian people are talking about the things that are happening in the Latin countries, and we're all, and the Italians, and then the European. Like there's all this shared tea, as they call it, and we're spilling the tea on what's going on behind the scenes in our communities, and we're actually just laughing about it and making it light, but we're also learning so much about each other through that space, and I love that.
Um, if you go underneath the skin, we're all the same. What are you gonna do? Well, we all have red blood. We all cry. We all have hopes and fears. We all have
Yes.
dreams. We all get tired. We all have
Mhm.
children. Um, we all lament the loss of life.
Mhm.
So I'm with you there. We were talking about this, and I won't spend too much time. I just want to push it out there. I noticed that there were a lot of people that were confused within the field of AI, and I figured there was a choice for me to make. I could go and do what I've been doing the last, I don't know, 6 years of self study. I could write in multiple composition notebooks my thoughts, my perspectives, this, that, and the other. But why not share in the curiosity and mutual exploration of what the hell this is, and how can it be useful to us, to society? That's why
Mhm.
the podcast. That's where the podcast originated. I'm not an expert. I interview people that have different perspectives. Some are scientists or designers, researchers, whatever, right? I mean, they all have their own profession and the way that they want to build their expertise, but I just want to learn from people. And this is creating a platform for what was it that you said? I really like that light. I really like that light metaphor you gave.
What did I say? I just ramble on, okay?
Well, you said people have a light, right? And when you shine, you give people permission to
Oh,
shine as
yes.
well.
Yes, yes, yes. I said when you allow your light to shine, you give others permission to do the same. When you stand in your authenticity, when you unpack your gift, especially in front of others, you empower them to do the same. You give them permission to do the same.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
So tell me, this it girl GPT, how is
Mhm.
it? How is it designed? What are you doing with it? How are you? Yeah, let's just start there. Let's start there.
My gosh. It Girl GPT again. It is your brand building bestie. And I've now turned it, so I created it back in, I want to say 2024, and now it has evolved into It Girl GPT 2.0, which is all about building a brand of global influence. Because again, my passion for traveling, my passion for creating global communities and making people feel included in success, making success accessible to people, because really it was never easily attainable for me. So I'm becoming and trying to create spaces where I needed the help, where I needed the resource. And when GPT became a thing, I was like, I was just blown away. I was on it, and I use my GPT, It Girl GPT, for everything. I mean, I've helped people translate. I've used it to really, okay, let me just put it like this. I've used it to understand cultural context, regional etiquettes, international mindsets, behavioral nuances, social cues. I've learned to use it to exercise different levels of patience, response, because it's really refined my communication. It's given me access and insight into other people's realities. Um, it really just helps me to become a wiser person, a more learned person, a more knowledgeable person. And it's really, it's like, it's a tool that that's growing with me, that's growing through my experiences. I use it to convert currency, to understand. When you train it to understand your lifestyle and your desires, it meets you where you are. So that's what the tool should do, is meet you where you are and grow with you and represent your not only present but your future desires. And that's what It Girl GPT is. I mean, it's everything, anything you want it to be. And more importantly, um, I've tried to train out the biases and the mistakes and the hallucinations, and there's only so much I can do about that. But when I notice that it is maybe giving false information, I'll tell it. If you don't know an answer, don't guess, don't speculate, don't hallucinate. Say you don't know the answer. I want it to be representative of multicultural people. So I had to go in and say that when I was training it, because when I initially created it, I would generate an image of a professional woman as usual, and it would give a Caucasian woman. And then when I asked it to give me a African American woman, it would give an African American woman and it would show her cleavage in a suit, but it would show her stomach, or it would show her cleavage. So I've had to go in there and train it and retrain it, because it is biased. It's inherently biased, and you have to go in there and make it a tool that's actually representative of your interest, your community. It can't, and it's so it's not cookie cutter, I would say.
So you wanted to create sort of like a clone, something that could be a virtual companion that would help you navigate the complexities of etiquette and environment, professionalism, multiculturalism, all that stuff, and you found in taking something off the shelf and encoding it with a little bit of your knowledge base
Mhm.
as you've tried to fine tune and rectify the natural responses, the default responses, that there is an inherent bias based on what is projected and perceived, and there's that gap that you're trying to kind of fill with what you think should be, and not what
Yeah.
is represented in the inherently biased training data for that GPT.
And I guess the truth is I'm creating my own bias within it. I want it to be biased and to represent my community and my culture. So not a bias that's harmful, but bias that's more inclusive of a certain
Right.
sect of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely that.
I think if we deconstruct bias, I think we mean like a belief, right? Like a
Mhm.
belief that could be constructive or destructive. If
Mhm.
a black woman is being hypersexualized on the trained data that you're trying to say, hey, give me a professional woman, and
Mhm.
she's black, and then they sexualize her. That's not what you mean by the professional adjective. That's not what you mean by what you would like to project in a positive manner, right? So
Exactly.
you have to cast that in the vision that you have. It's like a vision board, but like dynamic, right? I mean, you
Yeah. And you know what I realize, even as we're speaking, is that there's not enough repetitive data in the algorithm that represents this. So whatever data is in the algorithm on the internet, in the the World Wide Web, that's where the GPTs are pulling their information from. So the images that are existing and that live and that have lived on the internet is where the GPTs are finding their information. So there's 100 times more visuals of white women dressed in, fully covered, fully professional, fully chic
mhm,
luxury wear, and there's significantly less images of black women dressed like that. So I think that we're actually creating through this new images, new knowledge for the algorithm at large. Do you know what I mean by that?
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me where do you want to take this? What do you want to manifest in the world with this vehicle, with this bridge?
I I want to, at the baseline, I want to empower creatives. I want to empower people to find their gift, open it, and use it. That's what I want to do. I want people to become acquainted with their gift, open it, use it, share it. In the professional space, I want to create a digital marketing firm where I am employing the creatives, the technicians, the strategists, the consultants, the designers, the people who create the brands, who create the visuals. I want to employ those people, and I want to connect them with clients who want to build their brands, express their gifts, write their music, use AI. I want to be the house for the creatives and the customers, where I pair them together and they do their big one. They do their work. They express themselves. That's it, because I've tried to be the person who creates the brands, and I've realized that I don't really love that as much. Like, I don't want to be the person who creates your website. I want to connect you to a person who loves creating websites. I don't want to be the person who creates your brand aesthetic. I want to connect you with someone who is passionate about that, who is experienced in that. I want to connect you, business owner, with a person who does social media management so we can get your ads popping and your marketing going. I want to connect you to professionals, and I just simply want to be the house. That is my dream. If I could create that space, that is, and I've been trying to put that together, but I actually I do need help. So this is my call for help. If anybody else feels resonant with that and they want to help with that, creating a I don't even know if it's called a marketing firm, a consulting firm, but a place where we can build your business. And that's what I want to be. I just want to be the house, the owner of the house. I want to create the house. I'll open the door for you. You can come on in, and you've got Jim, Bob, and Benji here, and Sarah, Sue, and whoever. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm happy to make some introductions. I know some people that are in this space and are looking to achieve similar things, but I'm
Excellent.
curious about you. I'm curious about, you studied law, you're a lawyer, and you're in this space and you're trying to empower businesses, you know, where's that transition?
Mm-hmm. And you mean transition? What do you mean specifically?
Like, how do you employ the learnings and the new capabilities that you've learned from law to augment and support someone with branding alignment and furthering the development of their messaging and go out in the
Yes.
world and create their own reality?
Yes, yes, yes. So, for instance, I since I've been in Malaysia, I'm all about networking and making partnerships. That's something that I enjoy doing is creating partnerships. And since I've been here, I've gotten more into the education space, into the collegiate space. So I've connected with a gentleman who's an associate professor in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, and I've been invited to be a guest lecturer for his class for his students. It's a law program out there in Indonesia, and I will be talking about law and AI in some capacity. So that's set on the books for December. So what I'm doing, I think, is getting more into the education space and defining curriculum around how law and ethics affects or applies to AI, and how to maybe protect your creative ideas and what it means to create using AI, and legally what are the ethical implications, and simply how to use the tools and the systems. So to answer your question, I think I'm getting more into the education space, and I want to work with universities, colleges, and things of that nature. But I'm open to that wherever that lands. But definitely, that's one opportunity that I do have upcoming, and it's going to be the first that I have of that nature. So I'm excited about that.
Well, I think there's a theme emerging from me understanding and listening to you, and trying to create platforms and environments and cultural accelerators, media accelerators to help people navigate the kinds of challenges that you've lived through, and
Mhm.
then trying to get where you're at. Right? Am I
Yes.
close or far? Or
Oh, you're on point. And it's truly about what I can do for other people. I don't really have it in me to become like I'm truly just a servant. I'm here as a person to open a door for you, to be an elevator for you. So I'm always trying to find ways to teach what I know, to share what I know. And then I'm always trying to find ways to monetize my knowledge as well, because I think it's important that we as creators get paid. So I go through the frontline experience of everything. I'm like a frontline soldier of building businesses and entrepreneurship. Like I'm the first person in my family to even graduate college, let alone law school, let alone start a business. So I am this weird person in my family, and they've never seen it done, and it's awkward, and I've done it broken and heartbroken and lonely with tears, but I've done it because I was chosen to do it, and I was obedient to my calling. And I knew, I was told through my spirit, that if I abandoned this journey of entrepreneurship, then it's not about me. There's people behind me who needed a path, who needed this road to be open so they could see what was possible for them. These people are greater than I'll ever be. These people who need the light are so much more talented, so much more influential than I can ever be. But I'm the one that's here in the front to clear the way. So if I didn't clear the way, they wouldn't have a path to follow. And then they would essentially fall into destruction, or fall into nothingness, or fall into failure, because I think the true hallmark of life and fulfillment is figuring out what you love and living in that space, because you can have a great paying job, you can have the credentials, because I work with women and men like this. They've hit their pay, they don't need any more money, they've reached the top of the glass ceiling, and they still feel like there's something
empty.
missing.
Yeah, their
Mhm.
soul has eroded because they've conformed to the mold that they have to live in to sustain
Mhm.
the life that they have.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
identify with everything that you're saying. Um, I came from El Salvador at 7. I learned the language. after high school, I wasn't sure if college was the right choice for me, and you know, I've just been hustling. I've just been pushing through with sheer willpower. I
Yeah.
want to learn, I want to serve, I want to do. And if you show up and you do the thing, people respect you and they create opportunity for you to go into areas because they can rely on you. And
Mhm.
you don't have to look or be a certain thing sometimes to kind of project yourself into new areas. I've been
Mhm.
working 10 years from home. I've been teaching technology and working with CEOs to develop their software systems and implement some of their new features and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you don't do it, who's gonna do it? If you don't do it,
Yeah,
who's gonna
and
pull
I
the?
think what you're doing with this platform is so nurturing for me because I mentioned it earlier that I've been traveling. It's been a very lonely road, you know. Again, I don't have friends here. I don't have family. I've done so much personal and professional work that I've just run victory laps around my own life, and I kind of have outpaced my peers. So I am alone in this experience. So having a place to come reflect on it, kind of put it all out there. It's not only for the people, this actually helps me. This gives me a space of, presence and awareness of my own journey. And so I'm just so thankful that you have this and that you were obedient to the calling to continue to do this. And I'm grateful for our connection. And I just want to encourage you to continue to reach out to people like me and give them the opportunity to just express themselves because sometimes just having a conversation is all the healing you need to continue to pick up that bag of responsibility and keep it moving. You know what I mean? So I just want to really thank you so much for this.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, and I found the deficiency in myself as well. Like, I when I started trying to have a podcast or create events or do things like these, people would ask, how many followers do you have? What are you
Mm,
worth? Why should I spend my time with you? And it's like, wow, like if that's your view of the world, then that's a very limited, skewed view of how you should
mm,
live your life. To
mm.
have a fulfilling, genuine, authentic life. It's not just about a transaction. Um,
Absolutely.
but I think one thing that has emerged naturally is that I don't really care about people's followership or credentials or whatever. I do have a discernment for character and experience and willpower, but I really just want people to come and share what they think is something that they'd like to share with the world, and that we can all grow richer in a genuine dialogue. We're just exploring. Anything
Right.
can emerge from this
Yeah,
conversation.
because we give each other, it's like if there's a spectrum of people who are starting from 0 to 10, maybe maybe there's people at 0 who need to hear from somebody who's at 1. That 1 is super important to somebody who's starting at 0. That 10 who's achieved all the worldly success is super important to that person who's at an 8 or a 7. They are the ones that they're looking up to. So we represent a dynamic spectrum that excuse me, everybody's perspective is important. It doesn't matter your numbers or your, excuse me, I just had a little cough there.
No, take a moment if you have to drink some water, or, um, yeah.
Yes, but I don't think we should, because it can be very disempowering to hear a person who's at a quote unquote 10 tell a person who's at a 1 that they aren't valuable because they don't have these metrics. And I really hate, and I mean, you know what? I've heard people say, oh, you don't have a certain type of business email address, or you don't have this certain website, or you don't have this certain setup. So you don't qualify. And that's just purely, you know what? And again, because I've traveled so much and I've understood, I've started to appreciate people's perspectives. I'm like, okay, your perspective is your perspective. That's valid. So you can operate in that spectrum, and I'll operate on my spectrum because I am valuable to somebody and to many people. And I've gone through this so many times. I've been through this. So it's not like this is the first time I've been slapped across the face and told that I wasn't good enough. And then the next thing I look up, I have people saying, thank you so much for what you're doing. So yeah,
No,
just remembering that we're on a spectrum here is important.
as we're talking, it just dawned on me that we are in our lived experience and coming from unconventional backgrounds to unconventional present state. It's this is how to represent underrepresented communities. We talked
Mhm.
about the weaponization of media and how people sh- shape a perception and an experience, whether it's a real perception or a fake perception. It doesn't matter. It still affects the psyche of people that consume that media. But
Mhm.
you know, uh, it's our responsibility to manufacture and create and typecast the ideal version of where we want to be and aspire to become that thing and create a platform for other people that are like us that are in this pursuit, um, to build that platform so you can be in your group, in your tribe,
Yeah,
and
yeah. And that reminds me of something else I heard that became apparent to me because so many people, oh my gosh, even here in Southeast Asia, are so focused on status, power, external symbols that validate them. And I happen to think of us as a team who's building a house or a building, right? Someone has to make sure the land is proper, is pure, or isn't toxic, or is good enough to actually build the structure on. So you have those people. Then you have the people who start to build the actual infrastructure, the foundation. Then you have the people who start to put in the wiring and then the windows. And then you got the people who come in and make it pretty and then do the designs. Then you have the people who open the doors for the people, who the doorman. And then you have the people who are actually the CEOs and then the workers. There are so many different types of people, many of which who will be remain nameless, many of which who are the most important because they created the foundation to make this place safe, to make this place viable, fertile, but they will never get the recognition they deserve because they didn't have the status of the CEO or they weren't the architect of the building. They don't have the big name to go with it. But those people who made sure that the soil was good and that made sure that the foundation was strong, made sure that the electricity and the wiring was safe, those are the people who should be celebrated. And then again, so if you put that on the spectrum, we should not we should just be aware of that is what I'm saying. Everybody's job is important. The CEO to the groundsman, to the person who's landscaping, to the person who is consulting. Everybody's job is important because we're all here building building in and within the same structure. So that's something that I try to remind myself of too, is when people try to downplay me, I'm like, hey, if I'm just the person who's opening the door and letting in that next greatest legend of our time, then I did my job and I did my job well. And I'm grateful for that.
you know, uh, everybody has somebody to teach you. Sorry, everybody has something to teach you. There you go. I don't know why I was garbling on my own words.
No,
Uh,
I get you.
I went to visit a friend in Vegas and in Las Vegas, and they were kind of working, kind of transitioning out of their job. But I landed early, and I was bumming around one of the casinos. And my favorite thing to do is interview people that are part of a structure, people that are like security guards or food vendors. It doesn't matter. The more unconventional the place, the better. And I got a whole history tour. I got a whole museum tour of the city. They told me the development of the city. They told me the evolution, the lore. They kind of just have ample time to talk and think, and they've lived there 30 years. So
Mm.
who better to give me a guide than somebody who's just standing outside of a building that sees everything shifting around them.
Exactly.
And
Exactly that. Gaining wisdom, like, don't limit yourself to where wisdom can be extracted from. And maybe you not every that's not everyone's calling, Sometimes people there are people who exist just to show you that there are going to be walls, there's going to be prejudice, and then there's you knocking down walls and creating new pathways.
this is the last thing I'm going to share. And yes, I'm wholly on I'm fully aligned with what you said. One of my favorite things to do is when I encounter strangers that I really think they could teach me something, I tell them, if I were your son and you had to give me one piece of advice that could change my life, what would it be? And
Mm,
I just sit with whatever they tell me. Those
mm,
are usually really, really, really juicy, really, really helpful pieces of advice.
that's good.
So
Yeah.
there's always a way to bridge through culture and people if you project hey, what if I was one of yours, you know?
Well, could you share anything, something that maybe stood out, a piece of advice that you received in that regard?
Dude, it was
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
no. There was one time it was like 2 a.m. and I had just exited out of a dance club with some friends. We were all getting like greasy, grubby food after drinking or whatever.
Oh yeah, love it.
um, I went to the guy that was making the shawarma for us. It was like gyros and shawarma and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I said, dude, if I was your son and you had one advice to give me, what would it be? And this guy gave me lessons on stakeholder management without saying it was stakeholder management. But he said, hey, my friend, sometimes people come in here and they're drunk and they have lack of patience. You have to give them you have to set their expectations according to where their mind is at. So if I know
Mhm.
it's going to take me 15 minutes, I'm going to tell them 30 minutes, and I'm going to give
Mhm.
it to them in half the time, and they're going to be happy, you know. And
Wow.
I'm like, damn, dude, like that's the source of all, like, people that are people pleasers and people that are in charge of like multi-million dollar projects. If they just could employ that little piece of advice that I learned from the guy making the gyro that I'm about to eat at 2 a.m. because I'm mildly drunk. If anybody if anybody could reasonably apply those expectation setting strategies, the world would be a much more reasonable, realistic place.
I
That's just
love that.
one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely filing that one away. Meeting people where they are, not where you expect them to be and not where you want them to be, but literally where they are, setting some expectations and then over delivering. I love that. Great advice.
That's it. Otherwise, you're doing things at your expense and cutting corners and breaking
Mm,
your breaking your back and trying to make something that may be unrealistic. Because setbacks and mistakes and obstacles, projects always take 2 to 3 times as long, right?
hmm Yeah, I'm
So
actually reflecting on some of my own business ventures where we set the bar very high and always try to maintain this level of, service. And now I'm remembering that I had to go back and say, you know what? Be realistic. At least be realistic. Don't try to overcompensate because you want to please and you want to keep and retain. Being realistic, people can appreciate that and respect it. But then when you start to create a false sense of, well, this urgency that you create inside of yourself, it just really throws everything out of whack. So yeah, I definitely understand that firsthand experience.
Ivana, I've enjoyed our time, and I think we're getting up to the top of the hour. I'd love to hear from you. If I were your son, what would you tell me so that I could live my life to the fullest and represent underrepresented communities, or whatever you think would be useful for me or the audience or anyone, or even a younger version of yourself?
Yeah, I would say it's not going to be easy to be yourself in a world full of people who are going to try to transform you into what their desired version of you is. But if you can be brave enough for long enough to be yourself you will be so effective in changing the vibration, the tone, the glow of this earth. Be brave enough long enough to be yourself and to give yourself the opportunity to become who you are. Protect yourself, protect your gifts, protect your integrity, protect your body. Try to take care of yourself, your mind, and stay in your gifts. Keep playing with your gifts, keep sharing your gifts. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be anyone's image. Try to be yourself as much as possible. And and you will eventually fully fully realize and fully manifest and come into fruition. And yourself, your authenticity will literally change the world. It will improve the earth. It will create wealth. It will create happiness. It will create a new reality, not only for you, but for people you'll never know, for people you can't even imagine in your small town and across the world. So my advice in short is to be yourself. Learn how to love the process of becoming you, and try not to let the world bully you out of your authenticity.
Devana, if I could put that on a t-shirt and wear it all day, every day, I would. That was nourishing, so nourishing, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy morning. What do you eat for breakfast in Malaysia?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I do truly. Now, one thing I'll say is I miss a good Western breakfast. But I have eaten, it's very heavy rice, chicken. What am I
Yummy.
going to have this morning? I'm eating curry noodles and oh my, it's delicious. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes I just miss a good old egg and turkey bacon bagel, pancakes. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm probably going to have some curry noodles this morning with a cup of coffee from 7-Eleven, and that's how we'll start. Oh, and there's this tea that I love. It's just the best tea I've ever had. So yeah, I'll
They
start
don't,
there.
they don't have big goods like buns or anything like that, like filled with
Oh
pork.
yeah, yeah. I'm not a huge sweet tooth person, so but there is no shortage of sweet pastries and buns and red bean and custard and all type of
Oh
infused
yes, yes,
smoothies.
yes, yes.
Oh, I feel like I can give a tour here. I've actually, it's so funny because I'm like a foodie, and I eat everywhere, local and touristy spots. I even have the locals who've lived here their whole lives asking me for food and restaurant recommendations.
That's awesome.
That's a
Maybe,
good thing.
maybe that could be one of the starting points for your branding media empire. You could do the foodie tour.
You know what? I should just have more conversations with people like you, because sometimes, like, again, you're by yourself and you just get a little dry, when it comes to the inspiration. So let's chat offline.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Definitely.
I'm jealous that you're gonna go to Vietnam. They have
Oh,
really, really fresh, tasty food there too.
I am so excited about that. My visa should clear any day now, and yep, I'll be right on the next plane smoking. Well, not hopefully not smoking, but the next plane flying safely and landing safely.
You'll be over there running like a road runner, trying to get to the next destination.
Yep,
I
yep,
get you.
yep, yep, yep. I'm excited. Thank you so much. This was so exciting, and it was very nurturing for me as well. I look forward to chatting with you offline and collaborating with you again.
Thank you, Lavana. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, and yeah, have a good rest of your evening. Bye.
Bye.